Welcome to Athletic Conceptual Training, where we explore the real people driving change in veterinary medicine, culture, leadership, innovation, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And today we have a guest who doesn't just work in the veterinary trenches. She brings joy, honesty, and creativity to an industry that can often feel heavy. Joining us is licensed veterinary technician Sarah Parsons, known to her 150,000 plus followers as at Sarah Parsons LVT, where she blends hilarity, vulnerability, and real world veterinary truth. From burnout and compassion fatigue to content creation and building community, she's seen it, she's lived it, and now she's helping others in vet med to reclaim voice and purpose. Sarah, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being here.
That was an amazing introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's just jump into it and get to know you. I know so many people are excited to know you and see the person behind all of the content that you've created. Let's start with the origin story. What drew you into veterinary medicine in the first place, and how did you find yourself becoming a licensed veterinary technician?
Ooh, well, like many people, it started as like a kid whenever I was really into animals, and I was pretty stubborn because my parents never let me have any pets as a child. We had like one family dog, but other than that, I would always beg my parents for a hamster, a different anything. And for a good reason. Their reasoning was always, whenever you go off to college, we're going to get stuck taking care of it and everything, which, we all know is pretty accurate. Yeah. But still, I was like, no, I want my own pet. So I told them, whenever I'm going to college, I'm going to work with animals and I'm going to get all these animals. And they're like, okay, cool. You do that whenever you go to college and everything. It was funny because my sister and I used to make in our backyard what we call cat soup. And cat soup was, we had one of those little baby pools, and we would put hose water and we'd put like pine cones and leaves and other things in it. And we thought it would attract the neighborhood cats. So that they would come and we could like have all these cats come to the yard. That's what we thought anyways. Obviously did not work. We called it cat soup. And we would just make this soup and then we'd wait by the window and wait for the cats. They never came. It was so silly looking back, but we wanted animals. We wanted animals so bad. My mom was also allergic to cats. So,
Oh, well, So it sounds like your drive and desire for animals just started young.
Very, very young. And my first job was a kennel technician at a vet clinic. It started there. And I had, different, jobs at like kennels or PetSmart grooming salon and, vet clinics and everything. And it just kind of grew from there. So,
So you've been in vet med for more than a decade. Can you share a pivotal moment? Maybe when you realized this is my path, or when you looked up and said, I'm actually making it happen.
Well, the more I think about it, there's not exactly one moment. I don't think, for a lot of people, there's not one exact moment, but I found a lot of joy and motivation in the different jobs that I got and the different jobs that I was able to get. I worked large animal and emergency in Idaho. I've worked at the, ER specialty hospital in Hawaii. I've worked different, clinics in Texas and everything. So, people think about their day in vet med and, their day-to-day clinic job and everything and what they have to do. But, whenever I got to the point where I was like, what do I get to do? That, make it happen for yourself.
Right. How did you? So, because I think that's really unique and not many people, there's a lot of people either in small animal or large animal. How did you blend that, or how did it happen where you got all of that experience?
Well, coming out of college, and I went to school in Idaho. Coming out of college, I remember I had gotten an internship at an ER vet hospital, but that was unpaid, and so I needed a different job at a time. So then I got a different job at the same time. I was working two jobs, nights, at the ER and days. We all know how that goes, right? And I would work days at this other hospital that was small and large. And so, and I will be upfront and honest, I hated large animal. That is not my forte. I do like mainly because he did some horses. He was kind of getting out of a lot of large animal, but he still did some horses. So I remember having to trot the horses, for lameness or hold them for floats. It just wasn't exciting for me. Horses are super stubborn. And then I worked large animal because I worked with cattle. We would work the livestock auction that was in town.
Okay.
And I would have to get these cattle through the chutes. We had so many cattle that we would run through these chutes in the cold. And I know I hate the cold as well. And it would just be these long days. I'm just covered in mud. I got so many injuries from large animal, but it was an experience as well. I'm glad I was able to have that experience. So I think it also just kind of depends on where you live as well.
Right.
And so I'm very fortunate to be able to have those experiences. I've moved around a couple different places to where I've just been able to work at these different places. And so it's kind of given me a really good insight. I feel like a lot of people that have stayed at the same clinic, which is great. And if you're happy at that one clinic, that's great. But also there's so much more that you can do. There's actually so many jobs you can do as a veterinary technician and so many different types of clinics and types of hospitals and zoos and everything, so many different options that is what gets me motivated is like, what can I do? What more can I do? And what else can I learn?
I love that. And I think that's a great overall message for all of our veterinary professionals is to remain curious.
Yes. There's so much more.
Yeah. On your Instagram bio, you describe yourself as the silly vet tech bringing joy and laughter into vet med. How did the decision to add humor and content creation into your professional identity come about?
Well, the long version of that would be in my years in vet med, many years that I've had in vet med, there's one pattern that I have noticed in vet clinics in that everyone was depressed. I've looked at a lot of different clinics. Everyone was depressed and there was a lot of cynicism and people were, people had compassion fatigue and these incredible people, I got to know my incredible coworkers, right? And they were just so burned out. And so in my mind, just looking back as I got into social media, looking back, I was like, that is what I want to change. That is my goal. That is my niche. I want to talk to those people because that is literally almost everyone in vet med.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That is everyone. If I can just get them to laugh and get them to just receive a mental break of some sort, then I've achieved my goal.
And you have achieved that goal.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the work is never done, but you're doing an amazing job. And I know I speak for 150,000 plus people.
Thank you.
In some of your posts, you've talked about burnout, compassion fatigue in the field. Can you walk us through the day or event that served as your personal breaking point? And what changed you after that? Yes.
And I've told this story only a couple times, so a lot of people probably haven't heard this story. But
an exclusive.
I know, it's exclusive. Look. So it was when I was working ER in an emergency hospital here in Texas. And I remember, I was, let's see, how do I put it? I was going over all of these, cases. I got onto my shift. I was, I was lead on this shift. And I was looking at all the cases and I realized with one of our cases, of course, it's an English bulldog in Houston, Texas, where the bill, the amount for, what was quoted was under what, they had paid as far as deposit goes and what they had been estimated for. It was getting to that point where it was getting over. And we, it just wasn't estimated that this bulldog was going to be staying for, this long. So I had to make that call to them and say, hey, I was just coming on my, was coming on my shift, but it was well into the shift, probably a couple hours. And I said, hey, this is what's going on with Max. I don't know his name, but we're just going to say Max, this is what's going on with him. Yep. And, unfortunately, it's not at a point where he can go home. The doctor has basically already called them and given them an update of how he's doing. He needs to stay longer.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, the estimate is exceeding. We do, unfortunately, need another deposit.
Yeah.
And in order to keep going and everything, we can discuss options, yada, yada. And of course, as a lot of owners do, she became very irritated from the fact that, of course, it's, understandably, it's more money. So people just get frustrated. And this happens in ER a lot. And so she started getting very, very, very angry, and started to be a little more aggressive on the phone. And I was trying to keep my composure and trying to help her as much as I could. But it, was stuff that was basically out of my hands. I came into this shift and I was like, this is how I'm dealing with it, trying to calm her a bit, but also trying to, help her in everything. And also being like, this, I can't change the fact that he's going to have to stay more, we can talk more options. But so she wanted him to stay longer, but of course,
it's a bulldog.
Right. It's a bulldog, right? It was a respiratory bulldog. So she became very upset. And in that, and I remember it being such a busy shift, and I was on the phone and I just got to a point where I was like, I can't talk about this any longer. I've got other patients. I'm so sorry. We're going to have to continue the conversation. I'm going to have to call you back. She was cursing. She was yelling at me, everything. So I was able to end the call, and I just went back to the treatment area. I remember sitting down in front of a cabinet and just broke down and just started bawling. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And luckily one of my coworkers was like, oh, okay, maybe we should call our manager. And so she goes off to, call the manager. And luckily, I have great coworkers that were able to, help me and everything. But that was a big breaking moment where I'm like, I am in the treatment room just crying. Yeah. This is not normal. And so that is kind of a moment where I knew I kind of needed to get help, for myself. And that was, I remember also going into the doctor's office and, trying to hold back tears, but it was very obvious. I'm, my voice is breaking up. I'm trying not to cry and everything, but the tears were coming. And I was like, I just don't know if I need to do anything. And she's like, Sarah, you're in my office crying. Something's wrong. Right. And we don't realize it until somebody else potentially says it. But the problem that we're running into in the field is that, what I recommend to people is no one is going to help you. And that's a really hard thing for people to say, or people to hear, sorry. Yeah. No one is going to help you until you get your help, yourself, until you get the help yourself. Unfortunately, we all wish that someone would notice automatically and just know what we are thinking. We hope that people are able to read our mind. There's a guy years ago. There's a guy. His name's Kevin Hines, and he was the man who survived a jump off of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I remember his story vividly because he says, I was riding the bus and I was supposed to be riding home, but he just had so much depression and he had disorders and everything that he was riding the bus just wishing that somebody would notice that he was just upset. He was drained. He was exhausted. He was in such a depressive state. And he was wishing that someone would notice. And so he gets off at the Golden Gate Bridge, looks at the bus driver, just in his mind. He was telling this story later. He's gone on to become a motivational speaker. He's amazing. Yeah. And he looks at the bus driver, and the bus driver looks at him and says, well, are you getting off, kid? And no one knows. No one knows what you're going through. And so automatically we feel a little victimized. And it's a very, very normal human response to just be like, oh my gosh, nobody cares. Yeah. Right. And so that is ultimately what, pushed him over the edge, to make that decision. Fortunately, he survived. But I feel like so many people, maybe not at that point, but are, getting to the point where they're just depressed. They have compassion fatigue. There's all of this going on that they wish someone would notice. But unfortunately, and sometimes I have to be the one to say that, is no one is going to help you until you get help yourself. Yeah. You have to ask for help. And it sucks. It sucks going and making that appointment, calling the doctor and be like, yeah, I need to make an appointment for myself because I think I'm depressed. You don't know, it's just very, very confusing, and not a whole lot of people know where to start, and that's where it can get really scary.
Yeah. I love that story. I want to piggyback off this because this just happened yesterday, and it's funny that you just told us. This wasn't planned, but
Okay.
yesterday I went to put a little air in my tire. And I pulled up to the, little air thing, and there was this guy. I think he was a homeless guy or whatever, and he was just sitting there. So as I'm going in to ask them to turn on the air, just a simple, "Hey man, how are you doing?" As I'm walking by, he was like, "Good, thanks." And then he looked confused. So after I was walking back to my car, after the attendant turned on the air, he said, "Hey, thanks for saying hi to me."
Aww.
I know. And I was like, "Yeah, no problem. You have a good day." And it made me think, like, what did I just, you don't know what you just saved this person from by simple kindness, and how many other people looked at him and was like, "Ooh, oh, scary guy."
Either that, or we also think we internalize it, and we're like, "Oh, they wouldn't want to talk to me," or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that people don't want to do good. We're afraid to.
Yeah.
So that was so nice that you did that.
Well,
I had no idea what that did for him.
Right. Well, I mean, and even to piggyback in a vet field, like, we do need to be taking our own mental health serious. I think so far there is a lot of knowledge, awareness. We are doing our best, I feel like, as a field, as people with platforms, to say, take care of your mental health. Here are people, hospitals. We need to be providing mental health services. Large companies provide mental health services. But the other thing is, you're right, we have to walk through the door ourselves.
Exactly. You have to have both. You have to have taking care of yourself, and you also have to also be the one to be kind and compassionate to others. Because if we've gotten into this mindset where we are trying to take care of our mental health, but that's all we're focused on. Who's taking care? Who is going to help if we are all focused on ourselves? So, and again, I'm not saying that everyone's selfish, but legit, we have to just vocalize and just say, "That was an awesome IV catheter placement." We're all just kind of focused on, we get to be in our own little world sometimes.
What I wanted to ask too about that story, the story that you told, is what was it about that conversation that brought about the tears? Was it the actual berating of the client, or was it something deeper and that was just the breaking point?
It was definitely something deeper, because we know in ER we deal with those kind of conversations a lot. And so it was a combination of, it will not stop.
Yep.
To, oh my gosh, I'm just dealing with so much that was where it hit me. And not everyone has those moments where they just break down in tears or anything. So I feel like a lot of people are maybe waiting for that moment. If you're waiting for that moment, then that's, but if you're feeling all of the things kind of leading up to it, almost people are waiting for that moment, and we shouldn't be doing that. Don't do what I did.
So as we talk about mental health and wellness, what do you believe is the single biggest misconception the public or even the veterinary community has about veterinary technicians and the workplace culture?
Now, this could be a little controversial, what I'm about to say too, because let's talk a little bit about bullying and toxic workplace culture, okay? Because this is something that this is a hill I'm going to die on. Nobody thinks that they are the bully. No one. Comes into work and is like, "I'm going to make Clarissa's life a living hell today." Like, nobody believes that they are the bully, right? And so the number one stressor in workplace environments is, people say, is caused by somebody else, right? So, and it's hard, because as human beings, we just don't get along with everyone, and we are forced, 12 hours a day into like, these close quarters with these other people. And, you're going to have, contention. You're going to have moments where you don't always get along and everything. But there's another story that I do tell. And it was a coworker that I had spoken to. It was her friend that she had worked with before. And this friend was meaner to the newer people. And they just all hated her. And because my friend had worked with her for a while, she knew her on a better level. And if you're more experienced, she was probably a little nicer to you, but she would get frustrated with the newer, with the newbies a lot and everything. And so, but my friend was the one that was nicer to them. And so these other little newbie, new techs, they would talk to her and say, hey, like, she's like so mean, she was just incredibly mean to him. And so she went to her friend and she's like, hey, kind of being hard on, they feel this way. And she had no idea. She was like, what? Yeah. And my friend caught her on the computer, later on Googling how to be nicer to people. So like a lot of times people, we're all like going back to, we're all in our own little world. And these people that are bullies, they don't realize that they're being the bullies. They're just trying to focus usually on the problem at hand. They're focusing on the ship. They're busy and they're trying to get stuff done. And anything that is an inconvenience, like new people asking them questions, or they've messed up on something, or they say, how do I do this? Then they can get frustrated. And, some of them just don't have a filter. Right. And so therefore they are kind of labeled as the bully. And so I'm not saying that there are, that I'm not condoning what people are doing. Yeah. But it's a lot of, it can be a lot of playing victim. And I know that that's not the right way to put it either. Because I've been in the situation of the people, like of someone who is new and trying out. And that's how I try to teach and how I try to lead, is by thinking of little newbie me and how I would treat them, because we do forget, those people that are more experienced, they do forget how it is like to be new and in training and everything. And so you get, and you get a mix of those people, obviously. And so it's difficult in the workplace, to deal with, to do with something. But if your workplace is truly, if you believe it is truly toxic, and I know that a lot of people would disagree with this thing, go find somewhere else, right? There's no point in being stuck and just continuously complaining about where you are at. I've told people who, like they complain about work every single day. And I'm just over here. I'm like, okay, if you complain about so much, then just go quit. Like you talk about quitting all the time, do something. All right. Just like, you might as well just do it. I love you as a coworker, but oh my gosh, like if your work truly cares about you, then they would want to see you leave and go somewhere where you are truly happy, rather than feeling stuck in a job where you feel it is, toxic, where you feel it is, something. And I feel like a lot of the toxic workplace is everyone calling it toxic, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
I get it. Do you believe social media and content creation are tools for change in an industry like ours? Or is it just funny videos? Or is there a deeper purpose you'd like to see unfold?
I love this question, because all people see are my funny videos, right? But you know why it helps people? It's because it's simple, it's positive, it's humorous, it's relatable. All right. I used to see, before I got into content creation, I still see it, but used to see all these people talking about mental health and the negatives and everything. They would say how horrible of a field this was, how it needs to change. They were talking about horrible clients, horrible coworkers and everything, but no one was actually doing anything to make a change. Yeah. Them spreading awareness was just being negative about it continuously. Yeah. No one was actually creating solutions in how is this helping the problem. Yeah. Right. Veterinary professionals, after a long, hard shift, they're not going to be going home to be like, what else is horrible about my field? They want to see something positive. They want to see something that's going to keep them going in the field. They want to see a video that's like, oh my gosh, that's so true. That's hilarious. Yes, I go through that. And they want to they want to see that type of content. And so that is what I wanted to do with my content. And I kind of, the ideal is what I want is for it to have a ripple effect. I want to, if I can help establish more positivity in the field, hopefully bringing that light to others, so if I've, like brought light to these, few people, hopefully that will motivate more people to chart their own course and help the field in their own way. Because if I can create positivity, people are smart, people will go off on their own and be able to do their own thing and help the field in other ways.
Yep.
So that is my goal.
I love how expressive you are with your hands.
I talk with my hands a lot.
In all seriousness, yes, I really love that about your content as well. So many people resonate with your videos, and you are creating a moment of stress relief for individuals.
Thank you. That's the whole goal, is to just make it happier, make people happy.
Many vet techs feel that they're under-recognized, underpaid, or stuck in a supporting role. In the practice hierarchy, how do you navigate that tension personally? And what advice do you have for people who feel stuck? I know we've touched on this a little bit earlier.
A little bit. And I'm going to say a lot of kind of the same things, and it's a hard pill for sometimes people to swallow whenever I say, if you're feeling stuck, change it. You change it. All right. You can't complain about whoever, you've got to make the change yourself. Talk to your manager about how you want to do more in the clinic and everything. If they say no, go find a place that is going to appreciate you or help you grow. There's lots of places that will. If you're not licensed, get licensed. Go get your VTS. Look for tech jobs that, are in a unique field or, somewhere, zoos and research facilities or anything. Find where you need it. Go find or make your own niche. Okay. There's so many opportunities that you can either find or make yourself. Right. If you're going, and for the people that are like, I can't find anywhere to work, I'm like, that's not true. That's not an excuse in my book. That's not a good excuse in my book. Don't just apply online, one time to play a place and then just give up and everything. Go apply multiple times. Call them. Go in person. I can tell you right now, I think I've never gone into a clinic, handed them a resume, and not gotten an interview. Make it happen for yourself. People need to get out of their comfort zones. Yeah,
for sure. And I would even add to that and say, how does Sarah Parsons become a Sarah Parsons on social media? How does a Ryan Johnson become? And I want to make sure that I'm adding to everybody that I am a veterinary assistant, and I think that's huge because if I can do it, you can do it. And if Sarah could do it, you can do it. But the thing that we did, which is different, we just decided to act.
To do it. Exactly. And we need more veterinary assistant content creators. We need more people like you, Ryan. And nobody told you to go and make your own podcast about, like you said, your niche is kind of, you have a very great niche. I love your niche of being, you're having your athletic, sports content mixed with veterinary field. So nobody went and told you, Ryan, you need to go do this. Like you went and made it happen yourself.
Yeah. Go make it happen, guys.
Right. Make it happen for yourself. No one's going to tell you to. There's no soap for it. Go do it.
Go do it. Even if there was a soap.
Right.
When you look 5 years ahead, what change do you hope your work and voice will have driven in vet med? What legacy or shift are you pushing for? I think you kind of touched on that a little bit already as well.
Right. I kind of did. And what I basically said was, I just hope I can make people happier. That is my main goal in the field. That is a huge issue. And I hope I can just make people happier. And I'm not ignoring the bad issues. All right. By making my videos and my content, that is me addressing the issues in my own little way. There are plenty of other content creators that are more educational, that are going to, be more upfront and honest about what's going on and everything. And that's awesome because everyone has their own, little niche. That's what it's, like in content creation, you have your niche, right? So But like I said before, if people are happier, then they will figure things out on their own and they will create their own legacy. So I want my legacy to be for other people to be happy and make their own legacies in vet med, so that vet med can go on and continue to be a more positive field.
Yeah. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Some clinics say the mental and emotional load on techs is just part of the job. You said otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you draw the line? When is it that it's just part of the job unacceptable?
Right. That's just part of the job. So there's not an obvious line, but I will say whenever it comes to especially training new techs and workplace in general, what I hate seeing is the whole method of sink or swim. I don't like it. Striking fear into the people that are new.
Yeah.
Openly yelling and criticizing staff in front of everyone, and ignoring and just meeting general questions with animosity. So the people, like I said before, the people that are training, they sometimes forget what it's like to be new, and they're busy, it's frustrating, and therefore it's this kind of this snowball effect of, they're frustrated, someone new comes and asks them a question, they snap at them or whatever, and they roll their eyes, or how it can be.
Yep.
They gossip about it. Like people feel it. They know whenever they're not wanted or they're not appreciated, especially if you do not vocalize that. All right. So therefore, new people are like, I don't feel comfortable going and asking you a question, so I'm just going to try to figure it out on my own. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they're going to make a mistake. Everybody finds out, and therefore they feel the need to babysit this person, and they are going to continue to not like them. And therefore it drives either them to quit or just more contention in the workplace. Yeah. So everyone kind of has to do their part in making a good clinic workplace atmosphere, I guess. So whenever I do not believe that it's just part of the job and just, you just have to go through it, because yes, I went through it, and I say that I did get bullied. I did, have a lot of fear, and I was really shy. Believe me, I was not always, a very outspoken person. Social media is not anything where I thought I would be, 10 years, earlier, whenever I was a baby veterinary technician. I would go to some clinics and I would just come home crying, and I was just like, is this even the job for me? I have no idea. I don't get paid a lot. What is this and everything? So it's really hard to explain that to people who are going through that, and to basically tell them it does, it can get better. Yeah. Because a lot of that is happening in the workplace.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Many veterinary practices operate under tight budgets, time pressures, staffing shortages. Do you think the industry or practice owners are doing enough to protect willingness for techs and vets? Or is it time to say the system is broken?
The system's been broken for a while, in my opinion. And a lot of what it comes down to, unfortunately, is money. Money is the biggest issue all around, for owners, for practices, for staff. And corporate companies are stepping in, and they are offering these big, dollar signs to these practice managers who are also not okay mentally. And so it's an offer they cannot refuse, because their mental health sucks too. So I honestly think people are doing the best that they can, but our industry for sure can improve. In the end, everyone is thinking about themselves and their family. That's just that's what we can sit here and talk and complain all day about what, our managers aren't doing. But again, everyone's living their own lives. Everyone's looking out for themselves. So it is going to take a whole lot more voices and action in order to slowly try to improve the system.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, especially with, like, no federal or state insurance, like we're not funded by, we're not federally or state funded, veterinary medicine in general. And so there's that weird, in between human medicine and just, and just paying for things out of pocket. So it is really difficult. You can't treat an animal like a car, but you also can't treat them like a human. So, so it's, it's definitely a broken system. It's going to take a while to, and who knows, it might always continue being a broken system, but we can always I'm trying to do what I can. And, and I'd hope that other people would do the same, and just trying to do what they can with the skills that they have.
For sure. Social media influencers in vet med, some say they're distracting or oversimplifying the real work. Others say they're necessary for change. What do you think? Are you an influencer with a mask or a vet tech with a megaphone, and why?
It's funny because whenever I see or hear these things, I'm like, who's saying these things?
Right.
How are they saying it? Oh, on social media?
Right.
Really? Oh my gosh, because everyone wants a voice, right? But the second you get it, others judge you for it.
Yeah.
So it's a lose-lose situation. Either you don't have a voice and you're upset about it, or you get a voice and other people are upset about it. People say you're seeking attention, you're just this, you're just that, whatever. Everyone loves to judge. It's fine. I've gotten used to that part. I definitely would say, though, I'm a vet tech with a megaphone, 100%. All right.
100%.
So but simplicity is needed. All right. So, and people can watch enough of my videos to know that I'm a vet tech. I know what I'm doing, but also it provides context for pet owners, that are kind of, looking into the field, and sometimes they don't know. So I try to do a little bit of, educating and just being funny and creating positivity. So, but the moment I'm very passionate about this. The moment we stop judging each other in the field and we come together and combine everybody's skills, it's like the Avengers. We need strength here. We need, this person's, we need Thor's hammer over here. We need this. So I am good at creating content. I love editing videos. I love the creative aspect of it, and networking and socializing with other people. I want to spotlight these other, other people. No, I'm not a VTS, but you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's be open-minded and let's all sit down and talk about it. Because if we're all just talking about each other, nothing gets done. We all just get angry at each other. Okay, so you can, because recently, yes, there has been a lot of like influencers, blah blah blah. And I don't like the word influencer, by the way. I like content creator better. I don't know, like influencer just sounds weird. All right, I love my ability to create content. I want for it to be paired with, title protection, and let's talk this, and let's talk all these other things, because I am very passionate about veterinary technicians, mental health in the field, in general. That is what I want, change for. So I'm doing my part over here, and I'm totally fine if you are over here doing your own thing. Like, let's do it together. I can't do everything. You can't do everything. So why are we mad that we can't do each other's jobs?
You know what? I agree with you so much. And to all of those people out there who are judging, I just want you to know that it doesn't stop what we're doing, because in order for us to have and make the change, there has to be move makers. And in order to have that movement, you need an influence. You need people to jump on your side. And whether you feel like it's watering down or things like that, the influence that I get in pairing with Sarah allows us to attract the other attention, so that we can then make other moves and make the change. So now you have veterinary assistants, licensed veterinary technicians, and not just doctors making change in this field.
Exactly.
It's not just about you.
Yep, exactly. It's not just about you, and people sometimes need to hear that and whatnot. And this isn't like a you suck moment, but this is, I want for it to be more of an open-minded. People need to be more open-minded about it and realize that, you know, there's this cool thing called collaborations where we get together and like I use my skills and you use your skills. Okay, I'm not trying to be, you know, no one's going to ask me to be a veterinarian. No one's going to ask me to be, you know, like, so, you know, I know that influencers, content creators get kind of a bad rep because all people see are, you know, videos, and they might see like a dancing video and they're like, oh my gosh, they're just, this is all they do. And they get so many, but they don't see, that's the tip of the iceberg that they see, right? There's a whole lot of work that came behind all of that. You understand, right? So just saying.
Well, I love what you do and keep doing it. And I will blast everything that you do and talk about it from the top of the mountaintop.
Awesome. Thank you.
For vet techs listening today who's feeling exhausted, unseen, or just getting through, what's one concrete action they can take today to reset, rebuild, or re-engage?
My number one advice that I give to people who are feeling like that is get a hobby. Clock out completely and get a hobby. You need to find something else that you do after work, in between, you know, like whatever, that is you, that is separate from vet med completely, that you can be focused on. Because otherwise, if your mind is on work 24/7, you are going to be burnt out. So you need to be able to clock out, not answer text messages, you know, I get that sometimes, you know, like there's, you know, a little bit of like, hey, where's the controlled substance box key? But but you need to be able to clock out and find a hobby that's completely separate from you doing it. Even though that sounds like a literally cliche or, you know, simple, you know, answer, it is that simple. Go find a hobby, go try out roller derby. But the problem is you're going to have to do it. Again, this all goes back to our whole thing of just do it. Go and you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and go to that choir, you know, club, or go to, you know, go do something for yourself. Because if you're just going home, and I get that you need to veg a little bit. Believe me, I do that too. You know, my thing at night after a long day is I go and I get in my PJs and I get my popcorn and I watch Friends or Big Bang Theory. And I just get to, you know, that's my veg moment. So yes, you can have a little bit of that, but also you need a hobby. You need something for yourself that is constructive or productive, or something that helps you physically, mentally, spiritually in some way, so that you are able to focus that, because it can't just be, you know, not that I get annoyed whenever people say, go find your purpose, because that is needed. Like, you know, remembering, you know, because people always say, remember why you got into it in the first place. And it's really hard. It's really hard to be like, okay, I remember I really loved animals, but like, it's just really, really hard, you know? So new change for yourself, go and find something for yourself.
Yeah. For clinic leaders or veterinarians listening, what's one change you asked them to implement immediately if they cared about vet tech retention and culture?
My question for the clinic leaders and the practice managers is, how much do you know about your employees? Do you really know them? Like, what are their kids' names? What's their favorite candy? What is their least favorite task to do at the clinic? Do you really know them? Because if you really knew your employees and you are talking with them on an almost daily basis, or you really understand them and they feel like they are understood and appreciated, that makes a huge, huge difference. And you're going to have a much better retention rate whenever y'all are all on the same page as far as everyone's like, especially work-life balance. So the best managers that I had did quarterly meetings where they would talk to them, and they would especially say, what is one or two goals that you have, you know, for expanding your knowledge, for, you know, like any sort of specific, you know, CE, you want to become fear-free certified, do you want to become a VTS, do you want, like, you know, in the field or, you know, outside of the field, what is your goal? And they would try to help like help in some way achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to help an employee for themselves, like each and every employee, and make them feel seen, then your retention rate is going to get up there, in my opinion.
Finally, what's one thing about Sarah Parsons that your followers and the industry doesn't know, but you're ready to share today?
I feel like I'm already a very open book, but for people that don't know, I live on a ranch in Texas.
Oh.
We have chickens and ducks and cows and our dog and our barn kitties and our bearded dragon. And I have 2 human children. Not a whole lot of people know that I actually do have human children, but I don't show them on social media. Yeah. They're on my Instagram stories sometimes, but I have an 8-year-old son named Dustin, and he's biological, and my 5-year-old son named Eli, and he's adopted out of foster care. So not a whole lot of people know that I have human kids.
No, that's so amazing. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I just was realizing that last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a whole lot of people, and people meet me and they're like, "Wait, you have kids? You have human children?"
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
Just a little bit. They're a lot of my life, and so the people, if people just think that I just go into work and make videos all and just never work, that's not what happens. I'm a veterinary technician. I create content off the clock. Not a lot of people know that. That's something that the world needs to know is, no, I'm not just clocked in and make silly TikTok videos. All right. I work and then I clock out and do my content. So, or I go in specifically to do content. I've gone to different clinics to film with different people and everything. I love getting different people in my videos, different backgrounds, different things and everything. So no, I'm not clocked in for my videos. People are like, how do you have time?
Yeah.
I make my own time.
Yeah. That's the biggest question I get too. It's like, how do you have time? How do you have time? Mm-hmm. You make time for the things that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's funny is the last thing I will say about that is, especially, is I know that whenever I need something done, I'm going to go to someone with the busiest person with the busiest schedule. You know why? Because they are used to it and they're going to fit it in. All right. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm going to go to someone and that has a super busy schedule and say, hey, I need this done. They will do it because I know that they will get it done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your story. The wins, the hard truths, the laughter, and the grit. Hearing how you turned your burnout into fuel, how you're advocating for vet techs, and how you've built a platform with heart, hustle, is exactly the kind of conversation we hope resonates with the veterinary profession and beyond. To our listeners, be sure to follow Sarah at Sarah Parsons LVT is her handle. Check out her content, engage, share it. If you work in vet med or love someone who does, let her message land. You are not alone. Your voice matters, and change is possible. Thanks for tuning into Athletic Conceptual Training. I'm Ryan Johnson. Until the next time, stay curious, stay bold, and above all, stay human.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.